Alright, we're back for our final recap of what happened last time on Skyshade. Last time, Isla ignored more obvious clues and went to see the blacksmith about the pen. He said Celeste must have put some of her soul inside. Isla asked no further questions. Grim and Isla decided to have another wedding to give the poors something to celebrate. Isla went back to vigilantism and involuntarily made a friend. Then Oro showed up to remind us he's in the book. A big storm happened, and Isla tried to capture it in her ring, but she lost the ring instead. Isla found a graveyard that was all disturbed, and a snake burrowed away from her, and she still didn't follow up on that. Isla decided it was Poppy and Tara's fault that all the bad things were happening, and she had them arrested. Isla went back to the blacksmith for a MacGuffin tracking MacGuffin. Instead, she got sick new tattoo ideas that will give her more powers. Isla's new quote-unquote friend poisoned her and turned out to be a cultist in the cult of Isla. They all made Isla kill them. Isla had her power-canceling bracelets removed for some reason. She learned that her dead dad was an idiot who liked maps, and she discovered a secret island that he had named Island. Isla finally gave herself a sick rune, Skyer tattoo that makes her better able to control her powers. Isla and Grim retired to the Winter Palace for cute dates and cozy sex. Then they went into a magical hedge maze that exists for some reason to find Cronin's final resting place. Isla discovered a cursed book with more Skyers in it and went on more Hallmark dates. It turned out that Isla needed bones, and she went to go grave rob Cronin's bones, but a random monster attacked and she defeated it in the dumbest way possible. Cronin's coffin turned out to be empty. No bone for her, but she randomly decided that the portal that created the storms was, in fact, the coffin. Sure, whatever, Isla. Isla randomly acquired the tooth of a dead prophet, so she could use a tracking skyer to find his missing pages. We're doing that now. There was a weird attack by a wildling from underground, and everyone thought it was Isla, because of course. It seemed like Grim's own army was attacking the castle. Isla got dragged underground, and it turned out that Lark was still alive and wanted to destroy this pocket dimension and remake it because reasons. And it turned out that the attacking army was just zombies. The blacksmith gave Isla cool armor and then died, and Isla remembered the quest to find the missing pages and decided to go do that for a while, so she headed to Lightlark. I hope you were paying attention to all that, because I'm not repeating myself. Hello. I am recording my voice on a different device than last time because my tablet is having issues and I need to figure out what those are. But apparently everything that I try to record my voice separately on, it eventually shits the bed, and I don't understand what's going on. But now I'm using my laptop, my actual laptop that I do all of my work and my writing on, so it had better not start having issues. I'm a little bit worried that that's going to happen. Anyway, Nigel is here, and he's being very chaotic tonight, so we're going to see how this goes. We have chapter 28 called Gates. So Isla is now using the tooth. You remember she had the tooth that she was trying to write symbols on? I think I mentioned that. Well, she's got a tooth and she's writing symbols on it, and it's supposed to help her track the missing pages, I guess. No, it doesn't lead her straight to the missing pages. Of course, it couldn't just take her straight to it, because that would be straightforward, and that would be something that she did previously leading up to something new, instead of bringing her to a roadblock that will probably be solved by something dumb. But she's on Sun Isle. The tooth leads her to Sun Isle. I thought Sun Isle was Lightlark. I thought the Sunlings all lived on Lightlark. I don't remember them having an isle. Is it on the map? Moonling, Wildling, Skyling, Starling. No, it's not. There is no Sun Isle. So what the fuck is she talking about? So, okay, continuity. Continuity, who's she? We don't know her. Now she's walking through a forest looking for missing pages, and all I can think is that really old Slender Man game. Careful, Isla. Don't turn around and let Slendy get ya. Right here on the first page, we have massive gates stood before her. So, there are just, in this world, there are just gates sometimes. Just out.
in the woods or like on a cliffside or something. People just putting gates everywhere. It says, her hand reached out to touch the burning metal. She pushed, nothing happened. It's probably a pull. But if the metal is burning, doesn't it hurt? Or did you mean burnished? Or did you mean that it's just like very bright in color? Like, what did we mean? This girl does manage to rub her 2 tiny little brain cells together and is like, well, if the gate won't open, I'll just fly over it. But she's punished immediately for having an original thought, because when she gets up there, there's like an invisible barrier.
Oh, so that's what an invisible barrier looks like.
She tries to portal to the other side. That doesn't work. Do people know that this weird gate and presumably wall, like gates don't usually just stand by themselves. There's usually a fence or a wall or something. So presumably there's that, even though that hasn't been described. Do people know that that's out here? Isla's done using her brain cells, though, because she's like, I can't get through this gate. She tries all of her various powers, and she's like, well, there couldn't possibly be some kind of puzzle to it, and I should look harder at this gate, because, like, if I was playing this D&D game, that'd be what I would do. I'd be like, I really closely examine the gate. But she's not going to do that. She just pulls up a bunch of trees and, like, twists a bunch of trees together into a giant battering ram. This does not work either, but suddenly there's a blade at her throat. So thank goodness that somebody has come along to antagonize and then probably help Isla. Oh, it's Oro. Oh, thank God. I'm assuming that he, too, can just sense when Isla is in distress. She can tell Oro is sad because his hair is disheveled and because he's wearing dark colors. This is like a 13-year-old's version of what people are like. She said she started writing at 12, and I feel like this is the book that the 12-year-old is still writing. Like, I get that maybe Lightlark is her 12-year-old self's, like, dream of a book. Okay, whatever. If you really want to appease you when you were 12. When I was 12, I was an idiot. I'm not really looking to write anything that she wrote. When I was 12, I was writing Dragonheart fanfiction, you know? But whatever, if one of your dreams is to, like, write the book that 12-year-old you really wanted you to write, whatever. But, like, you're 3 books in. Can we write like adults now? So he's holding a blade to her throat, but simultaneously he steps closer. He pins her to the tree with his hips. So he like pelvic thrusts her against the tree, I guess. She's turned on by this, of course, because we're supposed to believe that she has any kind of chemistry with Oro. So he asks what she's doing here and if she came to kill him. And I'm like, well, if she came to kill you, you'd think she'd be a lot closer to you. Or were you also just hanging out by this gate? Like, why are you here, Oro? Let's talk about that for a second. So Oro's like, hey, are you here to do more murder? And she's like, more? And he's like, you killed a bunch of my guards, although probably they were soldiers, not guards, because they were, like, guarding a coast. And she's like, I didn't, though. And Oro's like, people saw you. And she's like, oh, yeah, that keeps happening. She has the nerve to be mad at him for not telling her about Lark, because he knew about Lark this whole time, and he didn't tell her. And she's like, I had family. And I'm like, your family is a psychopath trying to destroy the world. Stop being mad that nobody told you that you had family, because your family was evil, okay? I hate that trope so much. That does answer my question, though, whether Lark is doing things in other places. Apparently, yes. Oh, that's fucking convenient, of course. Once again, Isla can't do anything by herself. Something or someone has to show up, apropos of nothing, and solve the problem for her. So she can't get through the gate because only Oro's bloodline can get through the gate. This is stupid. He's like, the only reason that my bloodline can pass through this gate is because the other side is really, really ridiculously hot. Okay, riddle me this then. Why is there a hot patch in the middle of Sun Isle so hot that only the rulers can resist it? Who thought that was a good idea? And then they just put a fence around it, I guess. So I guess Grimm has a weird hedge maze, and Oro has super hot land. She still has not asked Oro what he's doing here, though. Or can he teleport because he loves her and she loves him, and she has Grimm's power because she loves him? So does that transfer? It's very, like, so confusing. How does polyamory and powers work in this world, actually? I would love I would pay to sit down with Alex Astor and ask her that simple question. How would polyamory work in this world with your magic system? And watch her flounder to try and even remember her own magic system. He has to, of course, cut his hand because nobody ever draws blood from themselves unless it's slicing their palm open. It's not like you use your hands for a lot of things or anything. You might want to cut somewhere else. We get very little description of what is beyond the gate. I guess there's like a valley that they're walking in, but a valley of what? Like, where are they? What does it look like? How did they get there? Doesn't matter. The author doesn't care. I was assuming it would be a big, empty expanse, Death Valley style, but I guess not. How long is this chapter? I'm so done with these people. Sand stuck to her sweat-covered skin as they traveled through it. They're traveling through the sand? In what way? That's the only description we get of what it looks like where they are now. But it is getting ridiculously hot. And Isla's it's so hot here. And I don't know why Oro isn't concerned that she's just gonna die because, only his bloodline can survive in here. But okay. So presumably the heat is coming from a sun of some kind. And it's not just ambient because she's certain that if she bares her skin, she will get burned. So I guess the sun is just really, really hot here. Oh, she's wearing a tank top. She is wearing a tank top. I don't know what it is about these authors of these new romantasy books, but their obsession with tank tops is weird to me. Is that just a Gen Z thing? Are all the Gen Zers wearing tank tops now and nobody told me? She gets rid of a bunch of her daggers because it's too hot. I don't understand that, but whatever. So she's getting obviously really, really dehydrated, and I'm like, you'd think Oro could have at least mentioned that they needed to bring some water in with them. Oro's like, hey, there's an oasis. Again, things he could have mentioned before, but he's like, it's far away though. How big is this super hot zone as well? They've been walking for hours and they're still in the super hot zone. And Oro was like, my ancestors just used this zone to power up their sunling powers. Why did they need it to be so huge?
Well, you got me. By all accounts, it doesn't make sense.
Oh, now there's a sandstorm. Why would they design it to have sandstorms? That runs counter to them just wanting to use it to power themselves up. If they made this magical super hot zone, why wouldn't they design it to not be stupid?
It's advanced!
For some reason, so Isla's like, wait, sandstorm has the word storm in it, and I have a ring that captures storms. And so she, I guess, is going to capture a little bit of this sandstorm in case she needs it later. Oro leads them through the sandstorm to a handy cave, so we can have two characters sitting in a cave and talking scene. She fully gets naked now. She's like, fuck it, nudity time. And of course, she's super, super dehydrated, and neither of them seems to have thought to bring water. Oro is so turned on by her dehydrated naked form. Oro decides, fuck it, I'll get naked too, this is fun. He doesn't have to, because the heat doesn't bother him. He just wants to.
Guess what? It's naked time!
And of course, Isla can't even use moonling energy to, turn her sweat cold, so for some relief, because it's so hot that all her energy is drained. Then Oro, for the first time seeming to realize that she's, dying of the heat, comes over and he's like, oh, here, I can fix this. So he makes his hand really cold and just, touches her nakedness with it. This scene is supposed to make us believe that she's still very horny for Oro, and I just don't believe it. I can feel how contrived this is. I mean, this whole book feels extremely contrived, but this is just, basically, this is the chapter that's begging you to still ship her and Oro so that we can continue with this silly love triangle. So Isla's getting real hot and bothered, and she's basically throwing herself at Oro, and Oro is once again like, no, we shouldn't. Anyway, if they had sex, there'd be sand in places that you don't want sand, and that's the end of the chapter. So thank you for joining me for this delightful chapter, everyone, and I'll see you for the next one whenever I get to recording it. Here I am again, trying to fit in some chapters of this, or at least one chapter, in between things, because people are going to be showing up at my house very soon for Christmas 2 Electric Boogaloo. But let's go with chapter 29, Golden. I think we've gone back into the past. I don't know when. It's kind of unclear, but we've opened on a scene of Isla wearing a sexy red dress and going into Oro's chambers to seduce him. She's not seducing him evilly, though, because she's really into him, right, in this scene that, I don't know, when it's happening. You know, we could have had an interesting juxtaposition. I don't know if it would have been done well. In fact, I guarantee it wouldn't have. But if this book had been her spending most of her time with Grimm, but getting memories of sexy times with Oro, besides just this one. This only exists, though, because the author really, really wants to convince us that Oro has a shot in this love triangle.
I know I'm only second place in this game. Settle for me. Baby cakes, just settle for me.
Okay, this is after the centennial because he frowns and she says it reminded her of the centennial. So for some reason, as they're getting ready for their sexy times, she's like, I want you to turn this red dress gold because one of Oro's powers, his flair, is to turn things into gold. Luckily for her, he turns the dress into very thin gold foil instead of like a solid dress of gold. I would be really uncomfortable. It's like, congratulations, whatever pose you're in is the pose you're in now, because your dress is made of gold. Then, okay, I guess this is sexy. She's like, okay, now that you've turned my dress to gold, melt it off of me.
Now feels like the perfect time to point out that part of Oro's tragic backstory, TM, was that he hates his flair because he accidentally turned a person into gold and killed them one time. Of course, that was a very, very long time ago, and maybe the trauma doesn't count when there's a hot girl. Trauma doesn't count when you've got a boner.
She did put up a starling shield to prevent the molten gold from hurting her, which is a good idea, but I thought at this point she really couldn't control her powers very well. That's not accurate. So, okay, they're up against the wall, or she's up against the wall, and Oro is giving her a BJ, and she hooks one of her legs over his shoulder, right? And then it says, she writhed below him. In no way is she below him. She's very much, he is kneeling on the floor. The only thing below him is one of her legs and a foot. Like, what do you mean? It says that he makes her feel cherished, and it's like, I would believe that if we actually, like, saw her feeling that. You know, you can't just tell me that a character feels a certain way. These characters have negative chemistry. She trusted him fully. That trust deepened every moment they shared. I don't know, it feels like in book 2, she was still, like, not trusting him very much a lot of the time. So now you're just trying to tell me that she totally trusted him fully, and I'm like, I don't think so. I don't think you're telling me the truth. By the way, the word against has been used a lot on this page. I haven't really been pointing out the word repetition issue, but this author has it. Unsurprising. It's definitely something that we all have, and I don't know if we can ever completely get rid of in ourselves. That's what editors are for. They can help us find that word repetition. But the word against, just on this page alone, so many times. Most of this is just reiterations of how much she wants him. We're just being told over and over again in slightly different ways that she wants him real bad. I mean, I will say of this sex scene, of the two, like, fully written out sex scenes, they are not as explicit as they could be because, again, I think this author knows that she has a young audience, or maybe her publishers know, and so it's very obvious what is happening, but we're not actually using specific words for some of the things that are happening. So, like, if you are very young, maybe you have no idea what these activities are, but it's definitely clear. And I will say of this one that it feels less like an alien wrote it. I don't know what was up with that sex scene with Grimm, but it just felt so much like a non-human who had never actually experienced sex before was attempting to write about what sex was like. She yells his name during. Wouldn't it be embarrassing if she yelled Grimm instead? Although imagine yelling the word Grimm during sex. This sex scene is going on for a while, and I'm pretty bored, and I'm like, why are we still here? Man has some stamina, though, because he gave her a whole BJ, and then they did P&V, and he didn't come, and now she's giving him a BJ. So, like, this guy, like, stick with this guy. He has stamina. So she finally wakes up from this sexy dream / memory. Kind of unclear which, but we're going to go with memory. She wakes up and remembers that she's in a cave with Oro. Apparently she kept uttering his name in her sleep. He says she said it constantly. In the dream, she only said it twice. So, is Oro still nude? That's what I need to know. I'm assuming she still is, but is he?
Maybe you should put some shorts on or something if you want to keep fighting evil today.
Also, is she ever going to get anything to drink? Because she was hugely dehydrated when she fell asleep. Did sleeping just cure her dehydration? So the sandstorm is done, and I guess it's nighttime here in this place that was just designed specifically to charge up sunlings. But I guess nighttime still happens. And so it's less warm. And I don't know why Oro maybe could have not mentioned that, hey, at nighttime here, it's cooler. And so why don't we wait until nighttime? Yeah, apparently her nap cured her dehydration because she's fine now. Cool, can I have a nap that cures dehydration? Then I won't ever need to remember to drink water again. Yeah, okay. She finally does start to have dehydration again, but it says they walk for hours before she starts to feel dehydrated. So it seems like she was fully hydrated from her nap, and then just walking again has re-dehydrated her. However, they walk all night, and she seems to have very few actual ill effects from the dehydration. They're going to the oasis, where Oro thinks the pages will be. For some reason, are we ever going to find out how and why they were here? Or is this just where they ended up? Stop asking questions. I was waiting for this. He didn't do it yet the day before, and I was like, why not? But today he's like picking her up to carry her, so finally we're getting there. We're told again how much she just implicitly trusts Oro more than anyone, and I'm like, you cannot just tell me that, you have to show me. But right before she passes out from all of the exhaustion and the heat, she's plunged into water and realizes that they have reached the oasis. She finds another excuse to get naked after she has a little drink from the oasis, not questioning whether this water is okay to drink. She then wants to wash off her clothes, so she takes them all off again. This girl is just looking for any reason to get naked in front of Oro. So this chapter so far has been a sex dream and then just lusting after Oro, and I'm like, can something please happen pertaining to the plot? I'm sorry, I'm not convinced that Oro has a chance in this love triangle, and I really wish he'd stop trying to manipulate me into thinking that he does. They finish their lusting after each other scene in the pool, and they're finally getting back to doing something else. We'll see how long it takes them to get naked and start lusting after each other again. See, here's the thing. This is mostly just lust and horniness. I took horny off the bingo card, but this scene, if we hadn't given it before, this scene would do it. And the thing about her and Oro's relationship in book 2 and in book 1 is that it was never very lusty. She was never as obviously on the page physically attracted to Oro as she was to Grimm. And now this is trying to convince us that her relationship with him is almost entirely built on lust, you know? She's not saying she misses his wisdom, his good counsel, his kindness. This whole chapter has been just her being horny for the guy. I would love if this chapter was like, she saw he had a chance to demonstrate one of his good qualities that she loves about him. Aside from just carrying her when she's about to fall down and stuff, because all the guys do that. Grimm does that too. Like, what is something about Oro that she loves about him specifically that Grimm isn't? Aside from him being warm, which in this situation is not really helpful because it's very hot here. So they leave the oasis because I guess whatever they need is not at the oasis. The oasis was just on the way. And now they find a palace. How? And it's like they've been walking for approximately like a day, a night, and a day. And it's like, how big is this place? Why did the Sunlings make their charging station so ridiculously huge? Apparently this place is Helm's Deep because it like is coming up out of a mountain. She goes to open the front door of this barely described mountain palace, and Oro is like, nope, we have to wait. He does not elaborate further, he just says we have to wait, and Isla does not ask any questions. She's like, okay. We find out another piece of lore at the very top of this palace. There is an eternal flame. It's called the Forever Flame. I would call it something else, like the Eternal Flame, or the Endless Flame, or something. You know, you don't need the alliteration. Forever Flame sounds like a name that a kid came up with. So I guess they just had to wait until dawn. He doesn't really explain why, but they wait until dawn, and then he's like, okay, we can go in. So they walk down apparently one corridor into this castle and right into a room that has a coffin also in it. I'm assuming this is where the Sunling guy is entombed. And sure enough, there, stuck to the wall in this weird tomb room, is a page missing from the prophecy book. So she just goes and gets it. Why is it in here? How did it get here? I don't know if we're ever going to find out.
Get used to disappointment.
But she reads it. We don't get to read it with her. And then she says, this is exactly what I was looking for. She looks at the coffin like maybe we could open it, and Oro's like, nope, we can't. Lots of people have tried to open it, and it hasn't opened. And he says, it's rumored Horus had a relic, a bone from the finger of a god. Many have searched for it. First of all, that's another element that we don't freaking need. And second of all, can we talk about the gods of this world? There are gods. Who are they? What are they? Are they, like, real? Because if you got a finger bone of one, presumably they are, but if you got a finger bone, that means that gods can maybe die. And are you guys gods? I kind of got that idea. She decides, fuck it, I'm gonna do this. And so she cuts her arm to use blood magic. I'm really kind of confused about how the magic works, but she cuts her arm to use blood magic, and that allows her to open the tomb, and it's not a skeleton, it is like a fresh body. And of course, in his hands, he's gripping the bone, probably the finger bone that we literally just learned about on the same page. This author does not believe in setup and payoff unless they are completely 100% adjacent to each other. Isla tells Oro to take the finger bone, and Oro does, and as soon as he takes the finger bone, the guy is reduced to a skeleton immediately. What was up with that? I mean, maybe it preserves people, and so later, at the end of this book, maybe, when Isla dies again, they'll use the finger bone to keep her alive this time. Are we going to continue these books with Isla in a constant state of semi-dead?
There's a big difference between mostly dead and all dead.
And now that they've received this item with absolutely no danger or issue to themselves, they just close the tomb right back up again. They're like, thanks, dead guy, and close it right back up. They go back out of this palace. There's nothing else, I guess, of interest in this palace. It's a whole palace. This could have been a cave, but no, it's a whole palace. But they leave, and oh no, another sandstorm is brewing. And they have to sit around inside the palace and wait for that to be over with. Like, why is anything in this book happening? Legitimately. So she made him get the bone out of the coffin. The finger bone of a god, apparently. This is just a thing that we have now. Why the fuck not? And then, while they're waiting for the storm to end, Oro falls asleep to take a little nappy nap, and she steals the bone from him. Like, even if he had to be the one to take it, which I don't know that he had to, she seemed to just intuit that, just ask him for it. Just be like, oh, okay, can I have the bone now? He'd probably give it to you. And then she slips away. She goes out into the sandstorm. She ties her shirt around her nose and mouth. I don't think that's going to be enough in a sandstorm, but okay. She doesn't have goggles or anything, so her eyes are definitely going to get full of sand. But also, is she just shirtless again? Are her titties just getting blasted with sand? So we get a little summary of what she saw on that page that she needed. And for the portal to close it, to open it, whatever, she needs multiple skyers as well as powerful objects to draw from. And conveniently, this god bone seems like it's going to be super useful for that. Thank goodness. It says when she couldn't see the palace any longer, she slipped her ring off her finger. You'd think she pretty much couldn't see the palace right away because this is the middle of a sandstorm. So like a few steps from the palace, she probably can't see the palace. So she breaks the glass orb on her ring, and her storm, that's an actual quote, her storm, the storm belongs to her, the one inside the ring, bursts out like a Pokemon, and her storm is going to battle the current storm. I choose you, Sandstorm!
I wanna be the very best, like no one ever was.
So now that her storm is fighting off the other storm, she starts just heading out of the desert. I guess she's got no choice but to hoof it, because she's in yet another place where her personal magic is blocked. Or she's super weakened. Her magic is super weakened here, because she's not a sun. Like, there's always an excuse why she can't use her powers. Another problem with it having taken them days to get to the palace is that now we're supposed to believe that she walks day and night to get back out of here. And it's like, you could have just made the trip a lot shorter. You didn't have to make it this long. Then she decides she can use her pet storm to help her. So she somehow instructs it to like the winds to like come and lift her up and carry her now. Okay, why not? And that's the end of the chapter. She walks for a really long time and then realizes, hey, wait a minute, I have a pet storm, and rides the storm out of the desert. What even was that sequence? The author decided that Isla needed a powerful item and to find the last page, and just made that happen. Pretty damn disconnected from anything else. Why was the page there? Don't know, don't care. What the fuck are gods in this world, and how did Horus get a finger bone of one? Don't know, don't care. Stop asking questions, all right? If you came to this book to ask questions, you are here for the wrong reasons. Anyway, that's that chapter. Is chapter 30 long? Actually, it's really short. I'll see if people are arriving, and if not, we might just carry on to chapter 30. All right, so the people coming here have been delayed, which gives me plenty of time to read another chapter for you, especially a nice short one. Chapter 30 is called Enemy. So Isla rode her pet Storm to the edge of the desert, and she has reached, or almost reached, the gate, and then suddenly someone yeets a dagger at her, and it is one of the daggers that she emptied from her pockets. Remember, she carries naked daggers in her pockets. So, oh no, her dagger is being thrown back at her, but it missed. Damn it. She thinks it's Oro throwing daggers at her, which is an interesting thing to think that he would do. But who else could it be? It's not like there could be other unknown things inside this weird, ridiculously large desert. So Isla manages to scrape together enough powers to turn herself invisible, which is a nightshade power that she can use. And much to my shock, it is Oro that comes around the corner. Why? I assume this is like a shapeshifter or something possessed Oro, because even if she left him, he wouldn't be angry enough to start throwing daggers at her, unless we're just like character assassinating him. I don't know. I don't understand, but he goes all like scary predator guy and like turns in her direction and like stares right at her invisible form. He's probably gonna sniff the air next. Even though it took a lot of energy to scrape together the shadows to hide herself with, now she turns visible and blasts him with starling energy, which she just can do even though she barely had enough magic to do the other thing. He uses her own power against her, and it says they both knew what that meant, so he like uses rock to grab her hand and like trap her up against the rock wall, because there are weird canyons at the entrance of this desert. And I'm like, so that what that means, I think, is that you both still love each other. It is so confusing how all of this like powers plus love crisscross, but he's still coming after her. Oh, I know who this is. This isn't Oro. This is Horus. Who just happens to look a lot like Oro. That's my... It hasn't been revealed, but I think that's who it's going to be. Or maybe Horus is possessing Oro. I don't know. I still feel like something's going on. But Isla still, like, as he's, like, threatening her and being all creepy, fully believes that this is just Oro, and this is just... He's just that angry. He's like, you left me, you abandoned me, you fell in love with the wrong person, and I suspect that if this is Horus possessing Oro, or some combination thereof, that he thinks that she is her ancestor, because we established that they look a lot alike, and I think that she was probably involved in that whole people falling in love with the wrong people that happened in the past that caused all of the kerfuffle initially to happen. Or maybe this is just Oro, and he legitimately is just this insane, because he has had an abrupt personality switch from any way that we've ever seen him behave. Okay, maybe this is just Oro. Like, I guess maybe her leaving him this last time flipped him over into dangerous crazy man, because he's like, I still have the rose necklace that you left me. This is nothing like Oro. This is not how Oro behaves, and she's not suspicious of this. She's not noticing this. She just thinks that this is how he has a right to behave. Oro angry. We have never seen Oro angry this way. You know, he's got her pinned up against the wall, and he's looming over her, and he's being all aggressive and creepy, and being like, I missed you, you missed me, tell me you missed me, admit it. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? That's why I thought he was a different person, because he's not acting in any way that we've seen Oro act. But she's not questioning it. She's like, oh, this is just what I deserve. This is how he gets when he's mad. And I'm like, no, it's not. And then he gets her to admit, well, she lies, but he basically gets her to admit, because he can tell when she's lying, that she misses him. And then he just stalks away. And that was the weirdest interaction ever. That was the most out of character, bizarre body swap moment. And like I said, the entire time I was ready to reveal that this was Horus. I was ready for Isla to be like, Oro, this is not you. You don't act this way ever. Oro could be kicked by Isla 1,000 times and he would still always come back. And then this time all she did was leave him in the desert. That's it. No, he is fully like filled with rage and weirdly like looming over her and being creepy and bizarre. And I'm like, what? When have we ever seen this from Oro? So he left, I guess, if that was indeed Oro. Isla hasn't questioned that it is, so I guess it was just him. And she turns around and there's the gate, and oh no, on the other side of the gate, zombies.
Things have been okay for me, except that I'm a zombie now.
She recognizes the dead from several different nations. It doesn't tell us how she recognizes them. I'm going to assume clothing. Some of them are probably wearing armor or scraps of clothing.
So remember how in the beginning I praised Alex Astor for mentioning how the Nightshades bury their dead, and Isla was intrigued by that. We never find out why, but okay, that's cool. The implication is that not all cultures do that. However, now that we've got zombies, we don't have, again, a chance for payoff for that fact by having some cultures maybe not be able to have zombies because they always burn their dead. Or maybe some people, their dead are easier to access because they put them in handy dandy like shelf crypts. Like, it is so, the opportunities are right there, and Alex Astor sets herself up and then just a swing and a miss every time.
I guess Oro came back, like he stalked away. And then she turned back to the gate, and then all of a sudden he's back because it says Oro's eyes were pure fire and fury. Yeah, he walked away, leaving her pinned against the stone. But yeah, Oro's back, and he's ready to do some fighting against the zombies. Which is great, because he should be all powered up from being in this area. But instead of Oro blasting them with fire, freshly powered up fire, she's like, oh, we're trapped here by the zombies. There's nothing we can do. Isla's brain just left her head. The author's brain just left her head. What is going on? This is the most disjointed, out of character. What is this?
Well, you got me. By all accounts, it doesn't make sense.
She decides that rather than letting Oro deal with this, she needs Grim, so she touches her life alert necklace so Grim can show up. You know, the worst possible idea? Because I feel like this place, you know, with the heat and the sun supposed to be powering up sunlings, this is the worst place to put your cold boyfriend. Why don't you just let Oro handle this? We just talked about how this is a place that's meant to power up sunlings. So open the gate and have him blast the undead army with fire. I don't understand why she doesn't even think of that and come up with a reason why that won't work at the very least. No, she doesn't even think of it. What is going on? I guess he teleports in, not in the desert, thank God for him, and just obliterates the enemy army with his what are we doing? What are we doing, Alex? What is this? Grim and Oro are looking ready to fight each other, but Isla's like, boys, stop fighting over me. We have something much more important to deal with. And I cannot hear her in any voice besides that, because, like, this is the scenario she's in. You called Grim here. You didn't need to. You're just like, oh, silly men, always fighting over little old me, only the most important special person in the whole wide universe. Anyway, we have to deal with Lark. So if you could put aside the differences that I caused you to have, we will now go deal with that scenario. And I am about ready to launch this book into the Forever Flame, where it can burn for eternity. That was just Oro. He just is like that infuriated that he's throwing daggers at her and being all creepy and domineering. And it's like, no! I'm so mad. Do I have Oro will be character assassinated on here? I don't think so. Oh my god. Oh, Isla gets even more powers. We should have crossed that one off a while ago. With all of the Skyers and bone magic that she has suddenly learned, she's got more powers now. So, yep. I'm also going to give this no plot insight, because it is all over the place and what is happening at any given time. All right, so do we have any bingos? Probably. Maybe not. Maybe not. Okay, if I give it animal companions don't matter, which I feel safe giving it at this point, because they've almost entirely been just transportation. And to make her look cool, because she had that little snake for a minute, and then she got rid of it. I don't know what happened. So we have our first bingo with twist ending, Isla gets even more powers, animal companions don't matter, toxic relationships equal sexy, and no plot in sight. So that is our first bingo. We cannot get a bingo on the right-hand side because of no snakes, even though there are snakes on the cover. But we still have a chance. If Queen Cleo doesn't come back in any meaningful way, then we will get Queen Cleo mostly not in it, and then we'll have another bingo. What happened to her? Did she just decide that she was bored of that and sail off somewhere else? completely unclear, but I like to think she's out there having a great time, because I'm certainly not. Anyway, I'll see you for the next chapter.
Okay, so y'all remember how I mentioned at the beginning of this about how there's really like only one video of Alex Astor pronouncing her main character's name, but I couldn't find the clip. A couple of people found the clip for me. Shout out to my friends on the internet. They found it for me, and she actually says her main character's name twice in this interview, although the second time she says it like really quiet and like almost a little bit ashamed of her own character's name. She does actually say the pronunciation that she intends for her character's name. Obviously, for the rest of this review, and probably for the rest of the future, I will continue to call her Isla, because it feels very obvious to me that she doesn't care about her characters at all. She has no love for them aside from the tropes that they bring to the table. And so, as I've mentioned many times, if Isla was a real person and came to me and said, this is how you pronounce my name, I would be like, all right, on board, will do. But she's not. She's a character that is not loved or cared about by her creator, and therefore we're just gonna keep calling her Isla just for the consistency. We're gonna keep it consistent. Also, I did watch the whole interview just out of morbid curiosity, and I think it'd be really fun to react to it for my patrons or channel members. So look for that in the future, me reacting to this whole interview.
Favorite moment of the book is probably when Isla meets the rest of the rulers. I love the line, "There are lies and liars all around you, Isla Crown."
Welcome back. It is now well after the holiday. I am so close to the end that I'm like, should I wait? Should I wait for my cosplay? Because it still hasn't arrived yet. My original order for my cosplay actually got canceled. Amazon canceled it, which I didn't realize. And so I went to check, like, why hasn't it arrived yet? It's because they canceled it. So I had to order a different one. And hopefully that's supposed to be arriving next week, like Monday, the least opportune time for me to film the climax of this book. So I'm going to do at least like maybe 1 or 2 chapters, and then I'm going to have to leave the rest until my cosplay gets here. But I have had a tendency to give myself like too much to read in my silly wig or whatever it is that I'm wearing. So I like have no idea where this book is going. This thing has been so all over the place, like plot wise. Like it really is just like a video game where you're just doing a bunch of side quests, because like I guess Stop the Storms is the closest we have to a main quest, but we keep getting distracted by all this other side shit that keeps showing up. Like, we had cultists for a minute. We had, like, monsters that were coming down out of the storms, and then we stopped hearing about those, and it was just metal raining down in the storms, and it's just, like, what is happening? And, like, the blacksmith, and now he's dead, and just so many things all happening, and we really needed somebody to sit down with Alex Astor and be like, all right, I need you to sit with me, be so for real, what is the actual point of your book? Just take it down to its foundations, its barest bones. What is the story? And she probably would have said the love story between Isla and Grimm. And I would have said, okay, what's the rest of this doing here then? If you want this to be a love story and that's the only thing that you want this to be, then we have a lot of fluff to get rid of. All right? We have to deal with that. Like, there's a whole bunch of other stuff that we can then pile on to that foundation, but we need that foundation. What is the one story that you're trying to tell with this book? And then we'll add stuff on top of that. But you need the foundation. It's like ice cream. Let's make a beautiful bowl of ice cream with a story. It needs the bowl. It needs the thing that's holding it all together. And then, we can add all the flavors of the subplots and the sprinkles of the characters and all of those things. And you can have multiple flavors in the same bowl. Hopefully they complement each other. Those are your plots. But the structure needs to be there. And we always need to remember that there is a bowl. And as we journey through this ice cream, there will always be a bowl. Does that make sense? For any of us who are aspiring writers out there who are like, my book is a bit messy, is a bit confusing, what's the bowl? What is the true heart of the story that you are trying to tell? Take everything else off and focus on that first. And once you have a solid bowl, then it's a whole lot easier to get the other stuff right. I find that a lot of the time it is really easy. I'm sorry, I've gone off on a whole tangent. It is really easy for writers, especially newer writers, which I still count Alex Astor as, because even though she has written other books, she has not been practicing. She has not been putting in the work. I can tell, Miss Ma'am, you have not been doing your homework. You didn't do the assignment that we sent you to get better. So she's not been doing the homework, so I would consider her still a beginner. And an issue that a lot of beginners can have is they can get too bogged down in all of the things that they want to include, all of the minutia, all of the little bitty details. Oh, I gotta have this, I gotta have this, I gotta have all of these things. And it's like you are forgetting the base, the bowl, the undergirding that holds your story together. What is, if you strip everything else away, what is your story? This has been a whole TED Talk with Julian, and now I have to go to the bathroom. I'll be right back.
A few moments later.
Let's get down to the chapter then, shall we? This chapter, chapter 31, is called Remar. You remember Remar, the Bug Man. He featured rather heavily, well, sort of heavily, in book 2, and we haven't seen or heard anything from him, so much so that I thought maybe he had died, and I just didn't remember it. But perhaps not. People that she knew from Lightlark, like Enya is here, and Zed is missing because he's in prison because he attacked her. But Calder, whoever that was, is also here, and they're like not happy to see her. They all are just like, she has betrayed us. So now they're all sitting in the war room talking this out, and I'm like, this could have a completely solved book 2. Sitting down and having a conversation about what's happening. Book 2 didn't need to happen. Like I have on the bingo square, this book could have been an email, but this book, like one conversation could have rendered book 2 an email. All they had to do was be like, hey Grim, buddy, what you doing? Why are you attacking us? Old pal, we didn't think that we were like enemies. What's going on? Nobody bothered to ask until Grim finally had to come and be like, I'm just here trying to fucking steal my wife. Oh, I forgot that Lark, evil lady Lark, is also on her own separate side quest to everyone else. Because she is an ancestor of Isla's, of course she has side quests. So Isla is still alive. People are like, how are you still alive, Isla, if you met Lark and she's so dangerous? And Isla's like, Lark needs me to lead her to the heart of Lightlark. You remember the heart, our favorite MacGuffin. I think I already had more MacGuffins crossed off. But yeah, our favorite MacGuffin, the heart of Lightlark, it's back. We haven't thought about the heart of Lightlark since book 1, so I don't know how that's going to work, but Isla is actually involved in someone else's side plot. I don't know for sure who's saying this. Calder asks, so what do we do? How do we stop someone more powerful than any of us who created the very island we're standing on? And then someone, there's several people at this table, but unattributed line, we lure her out with the promise of the heart, then we attack. I guess we're left to assume that it's Isla because she's the main character, but we don't have any proof of that. That could have been Grim, that could have been Oro, and that could have been Enya. Anybody here could have had that idea. Isla says she can be stopped for even a few hours. One person on this island knows how. Why are we being so vague? Remlar, I'm assuming it's Remlar. You don't have to be like, someone on this island knows how. Ooh. We have to have a brief moment to prove that everybody's still in love with everybody. So, like, she looks at Grim and he opens his hand and there's a flower proving that he can still use her powers, which means that he still loves her. And she does the same thing with Oro. He still loves her. She can use their powers. She still loves them. And I'm just like, polyamory would fix this. So the plan is using the portal on Lightlark, destroying the island, and sending all of Nightshade to the other world. I am so confused right now. I don't feel like that's how we've set any of this up to work. So, okay, there's 2 portals in question, one of which is on Nightshade. That's the one that makes the storms. And the other of which is somewhere on Lightlark. Okay, cool. If you use the one on Lightlark to go back to the other world, you destroy Lightlark, and thus everything else around Lightlark. Unless, I guess, maybe they're just going to evacuate the island, and just the island will be destroyed? It's so confusing. And then it's like, well, okay, if that's the case, how does doing that destroy Nightshade? Wouldn't you go after the portal that's on Nightshade to destroy Nightshade and thus Lark because she's living there right now. She's squatting on Nightshade right now. Y'all, I'm glad they have a plan of some kind. It doesn't make any sense from what we've gotten so far in this world's shittiest world building. Enya and Calder are supposed to gather up all of the Lightlark citizens, everybody on Lightlark, and they're going to go to the New Lands. Which New Lands? Unclear, but they're going to the New Lands, maybe the Wildling New Lands, because they're like, Lark is here because we saw one of her zombie armies, so she's here getting corpses. So that's why I guess they want to use the Lightlark portal. It's odd. And of course they have the bone, because bones are super powerful with magic. Blood used to be, but now blood's out now. Now it's bones is the latest meta. I don't know how they are assuming that Lark won't notice their evacuation. Like suddenly there's just no people here, but maybe she won't. Maybe she's just too busy raising the dead. She's like, Grim, I need your sword back. You know, the one that you put back in the thief's lair instead of keeping. I need it back. And Grim's like, I can go get it. And I'm like, then why didn't you just keep it? Surprise, surprise. Grim portals out real quick. He goes to the thief's lair. Oh no, it's not there. The sword, it's gone. And I'm like, shocker, because you left it in an unguarded thief lair.
It's so dumb.
Oh, it's so dumb, it's brilliant.
No! It's just dumb.
You could have just kept it in a box somewhere in your castle, dude. So for some reason, Oro's like, I can solve this problem. We need to go talk to Zed. You remember Zed? Good, because I don't. I guess Zed's always been a thief? Sure, I could add that to the stack of things that we've known all along, 100%. But I guess he's just a really, really good thief. So they're like, okay, we need a thief to catch a thief. Why are we throwing on more complications with this much book left? I don't friggin' know. Grim is going with Zed, so we don't even get to see the thief capture moment. They're just gonna go do that. For some reason, in this moment, Grim's portaling abilities are too much strain for Isla, so she has to fly instead, and I'm like, why? She's gonna go try to find Remlar, but when she gets to his hive, it is empty. Everybody keeps being gone. The sword is gone, Remlar's gone, because these main characters can't be bothered to check on things every now and then. Mostly this scene is just here so that Oro can be pouty about her giving Grim a little goodbye kiss. Is there a reason that she can't tell Oro and Grim about the prophecy? Like, I can't remember. Is there a clause that says she can't tell them about it? She's like, I keep hurting these boys that I love and I can't tell them why. Is that a rule? Do you have to obey it? What happens if you try to explain the scenario to them? Oh, now okay, well, we're this far. And she finally is like, maybe I should just actually tell him. Of course, she says it in the dumbest way ever. She says, I'm going to kill you, which could not possibly be misconstrued. Fortunately, Remlar eventually shows up to break up this mutual pining. So we get a little bit of lore about the world that they came from, because apparently Remlar's from there. And he says, there were gods in the other world. They ruled us all. They were worse than you can even imagine. Okay, but what about the gods here? Here in this world. Right, Nigel? Nigel's also confused. What about the gods of this world? Because we keep talking about it like there are some. So Remlar is like, you need a really powerful curse to hold Lark for a little while, and I can spin that curse, because Grim can't do curses. That's like the only power he doesn't have. So he pulls out, I don't know why or how this works, but it doesn't matter. He pulls out a Shade-Made blade. Shade-Made blade. Because everybody has those now. Shade-Made is just everywhere, even though it wasn't mentioned in the previous 2 books. And he's like, I will cast a curse and bind this to myself. So I'm going to guess that they have to stab Lark with it or something. So now that that's settled, she and Oro head off to the Place of Mirrors. So she goes back to that old vault. You remember the one that she had to open with her crown. And now it turns out that the door is also shade-made metal. Because everything is that now. So Oro sees the marks on her arms. You know, those special tattoos that, like, give her powers or help her channel her powers. And he's like, Isla, you saw what happens when you use shortcuts for power. Your soul. And I'm like, this girl's soul is so mixed up in so many different things. Like, I don't know, man. But also, again, it seems like maybe we wanted to have a theme of Isla taking shortcuts. But that hasn't been true. That hasn't been carried throughout the story. It has just been something that's brought up every now and then. She has a brief moment where she's like, I've come to like killing, Oro. Killing is my thing now, and that makes me a monster. I mostly kill the bad ones, but I guess also she's been getting a little thrill from accidentally killing good people too. Like, I don't think we really saw that, but... So now she says that the reason that she took the bracelets off, which she did not give us this reason when she first did it, but she says the reason she took the bracelets off is when she was going vigilante, it was like awakening something inside her, and she got scared of it, so she got her powers back. Even though the thing that she was scared of is like this new lust for killing, and getting her powers back made it easier for her to kill. It still doesn't make sense. Maybe you should have just kept that reason to yourself, Isla, because it doesn't make any sense. Now, Oro has to take his turn, of course, to profess that he will always love her, no matter who she is or what she does. There is never anything in this whole wide world that he could not forgive her for. I don't know what this girl would have to do to get these men to stop simping.
So I also know that it is a sort of wish fulfillment trope to have a guy who says, I will love you no matter what. Like, there's nothing that you could do that would make me stop loving you. I get that. But, like, why not just let that be what we really want, which is having a guy who doesn't care if we wander around in our baggy pajamas all day eating nothing but chips, instead of a guy who's like, you go ahead and murder, babe. That's fine. I'll love you anyway.
I wish we had an explanation for why he went feral in the desert like he did, so much so that I didn't even think it was really Oro, but apparently it was. Like, what was that? But interrupting this beautiful moment of simpage, there's a snap of a twig, and Isla turns, and she sees Ren in the forest. Which one is Ren? I think she was one of Isla's people, I think. Ren, however, does not stick around. She just books it. And Isla and Oro make chase. I still don't know what Isla was doing at the vault. Being here to see Ren is what she was doing at the vault. Isla comes out into a clearing. She thinks that she's lost Ren, but oh no, a blade's flying towards her face, and Isla barely manages to pching, block it. Ren is like bopping around, like attacking her, and she manages to injure Ren, but oh no, there's no blood, which means that Ren is a zombie. Bum bum bum. A very fast zombie, like really good at fighting for a zombie. She is unable to finish the job because even though Ren is a zombie, Isla still likes Ren, so she calls to her backup, and Oro just incinerates Ren on the spot. Oh, that's why we needed to see Ren. Why Ren needed to be a zombie is because Isla gave her star stick to Ren. I'm glad Isla said that because I did not remember that. Too many things have been going on in this book. So she's like, well, crap. That means that Lark has my star stick. We really should have thought of that before giving your star stick to just a rando. This is a problem because now they can't guarantee that Lark is anywhere at any given time. She can portal away. So they're like, crap, we were going to use the portal on this island to trap her somehow, but she could be anywhere at this point. So Isla's like, we need to leave, and she goes to teleport, and oh no, she can't. She's missing Grimm's powers. Oh no, is he dead? Oh no. That would solve a lot of her problems, actually. Also, though, if he was dead, she is bound to him, so I think she would die. So I think she can already know that he's not dead. She does searches her feelings like Luke Skywalker, and she can sense him there just a little bit. But she's freaking the fuck out, of course, and powers going every which where. Then all of a sudden, the friggin' snake lady from book 2 shows up, because why not? She might as well do that. I mean, she was the only snake that we were still missing from this story. But the snake lady is also a zombie. So it looks like Lark has zombified pretty much everyone that she can. Is the fish person from book 1 also zombified at this point? They can't portal, so they're having to just run away through the forest from the giant snake. Why can't Oro just incinerate the snake the way that he did Ren? Unclear. They just trick the snake into slithering off a cliff. Like, they run to a cliff's edge, and of course they can fly, but the snake just goes like Wile E. Coyote. But there are more zombies, Skyling zombies, waiting on the beach. They have bows and arrows. She reaches for Grimm's power again, but she can't sense him, and it's freaking her out again, and she passes out as her power just explodes out of her. Damn, she had boiled the sea. She shredded their enemies. They are all pieces along the beach. She turns to see Oro, though, and she got him too. He didn't put his shields up fast enough. So that is the end of that chapter. Oro was stabbed by her attack. He was stabbed by a sword, so I don't know if she just like created a sword and stabbed him specifically, because everybody else got just like ripped to tiny little pieces like a cat with cardboard. But that was that chapter. We will return shortly for more chapters. Possibly the ending of this book, we shall see. Right, I've got a little bit of battery left on my tablet, so let's quick read a chapter. It is chapter 32, Sacrifice. Pretty short one. We're getting to the end of the book where the author just cannot help herself and do a bunch of snappy chapters. Happens every time. Ah yes, Oro was stabbed.
Ow! You stabbed me!
I don't know why these authors don't like the word knelt. Did knelt do something to you? As she kneeled beside him. I don't think kneeled is technically incorrect, but knelt is right there. It's a beautiful word. Conveniently, the one power she's like never tried is healing, but she's gonna try it now. But of course she's like, I've never done it before. Gosh, I wonder why. Like maybe somebody who's so concerned with hurting people would want to learn healing abilities, especially after all of your magical tonics were gone, but conveniently she was wearing her bracelets at the time, so nothing could be done.
I also think that it's really telling about Isla as a character that the one of the many, many abilities that she has not practiced is healing. I can't help but feel like that says a lot about her as a person.
So I guess even after a ruler dies, if they have someone alive who loved them, that person still has their powers? Because she's bad at healing, so she's not healing Oro very well. This understanding passes between them that, like, it's okay, Lightlark won't fall because she's still alive, because Oro still loves her. That feels like a major thing that we should have known this whole time.
What are the rules? What are the rules?
Because one of the reasons that she kept being like, I can't kill Oro, is because without him, all of Lightlark will die. But it turns out all we really needed was for him to love somebody, and he could be offed, and that's fine. These books are so confusing, and the retcons just keep coming. So one of the things that she often thinks about with Oro is that he wants to take her to his favorite beach. I don't know if they've been, or he wants to just, if we were together, I'd take you every day kind of a vibe. And now he's dying, and all I can think about, and this is a deep cut for nobody will understand this, is Morden Solus and the seashells. If you know what I'm talking about, now we are both just weeping on the inside. Nobody knows what I'm talking about. Isla's like, if only I had not given away my star stick. And I'm like, yeah, it is awfully convenient that you decided to do that when you've never done that before. In the previous two books, Isla would never have given her star stick to just somebody. She'd maybe give it to one of her two boys and that's it. But in this one, she's handing it off in a throwaway line to some rando. And yeah, now you're screwed. Like, everything is so contrived. Like, maybe if she had spent this book building up trust with that person, and then she felt okay handing the star stick over to her, sure. But we didn't do that. Ren, I think, was her name, and she was barely in this book. I think she got, like, 3 lines maximum. Polyamory, once again, could solve all of her problems. Obviously, they'd have to talk about it and work things out. But she's like, Oro, you can't die because I can't be without you. And he's like, what about Grimm? And she's like, even when I'm with Grimm, I'll miss you. When I'm with you, I miss him. I love you both. Tragic. This man has been stabbed through the chest, but he's still speaking lengthy paragraphs about how much he loves Isla. Finally, Isla remembers that she was wearing the Life Alert necklace. So this whole time, she could have called for Grimm, who could have portaled them somewhere. She didn't have to sit on this beach while Oro bleeds out. Oh yeah, something happened to Grimm and she thought he was dead. But then she didn't try pressing her Life Alert necklace. Then she presses it now and here he is, like right there. So he probably just went into some sort of... People are always going into like no magical fields in this world. He probably just went into one of those on his adventuring trying to find the MacGuffin. They keep scraping together more wildling elixir, which they shouldn't have to do. I felt like Isla sent a shit ton of elixir to this island. I'm forgetting the names of places because nothing matters. So they're like scraping together, like they happen to find the last few containers, and I'm like, we keep finding the last few containers over and over again in this book. There's always a last few containers, and they found some, and I'm like, yeah, but wouldn't there be a whole bunch here if we're still on Lightlark? Again, friendship love doesn't seem to count because Enya shows up. You know, you remember Oro's best friend who's always been here, and she, you know, of course, rushes to Oro's side, and it says that it was clear that she loved him, and I'm like, okay, well, is that not enough to keep Lightlark alive? No, it has to be romantic love, the only kind of love that matters. Grimm and Zed did get the sword, and they're being very vague about how they got it, probably because this author just doesn't want to come up with that. There was apparently some sort of scuffle, but they're fine. She's like, all right, I'm sick of waiting for my son boyfriend to recover, so I'm going to go get that curse blade that I was having Remar make. And she and Grimm portal over there. Grimm still needs to portal her, even though I feel like now that he's out of wherever he was, that was preventing her using his magic, she could use it again. This book is like also surprisingly consists of a lot of people making things, forging things for Isla. In the previous book, it was all Isla searching for things. In this one, she's just having them made. We killed the blacksmith, so now the bug man has to make her special weapons. So Remar has decided it's story time, because I guess why not? He says, there was once a world with 3 gods, one that ruled the skies, one that ruled the dirt, and one that ruled the great below. So not the earth, just the dirt specifically. You're the dirt god. Apparently nobody ruled the waters. But anyway, the conflicts that you expect from these types of fables are arising where certain gods think that they're better than other gods, and they all have children, and the children are interbreeding, and blah, 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 blah. You could make up this story. If I told you, here's 3 gods, make up a story about them where they end up in conflict, this is what you would come up with in like 5 minutes, guaranteed. One of the princes of below and one of the princesses of the dirt. Can we come up with better branding, y'all? The princess of the dirt.
Prince of the land of stench.
So, I guess the thing that ultimately we are trying to get from this book is that Cronin, the ancestor of Grimm, created this curse that binds all of the rulers to their realms. And if the realms are ever going to be free to rule themselves or something, I don't know what happens, then Oro has to die because Oro has all of the powers. So really, you might not be killing everyone, you might be freeing everyone. Maybe? It's really hard to figure out what the fuck, just because this book is not well written. But I think that's what we're saying, and now Isla's like, well, now I have even more reason to kill Oro.
So the other kind of important thing that we're supposed to get is that Lark is a child of the god of dirt. Cronin is a child of the god of the beneath. And then the other one, the one that they stole the finger bone from, whose name I can't remember because he does not matter, was a child of the god of the sky. And they all came here to Lightlark and did fuckery. It's really unclear why there's only 3 when there are so many like Lightlark nations. Did the god of the sky just get really busy with some locals or something and make a whole bunch of sky related people, you know? So that's the explanation why there's skylings and moonlings and starlings and all the sky related things. And also I still can't get over that one of them is just the princess of the dirt. Isla is a princess of the dirt.
And of course, then he has to be like, now I know I just told you all about gods and how cool Oro is, but actually, you're the cool one. He says you are the only person living who is of the sky, the dirt, and the below. You, Isla Crown, could bring the gods to their knees. Just when you think this author has finally run out of ways to talk about how amazing her main character is, now she's making gods kneel. I think we're supposed to infer that she's the Heart of Lightlark now, but my prediction that Isla was going to turn out to be the Heart of Lightlark might be coming true just 2 books late. But she gets out the bone, you know, that she was going to do big magic with, and she's getting ready to do something. And Remlar's like, are you sure you want to do it? And she's like, yeah. I challenge anyone to follow the plot of this book. If you read this book, are you getting the plot? All right, I am going to be done for the moment because my tablet is almost out of juice, which will make Nigel angry because he just got here and I'm about to disturb him, but needs must. And I will see all of you guys, careful buddy, for the next chapter.
Hello, it's Julian once again reporting in that this video was brought to you by my patrons and myself. If you would like to become a patron, that will give you access to exclusive videos not seen here on the regular channel. You can also get those exclusive videos by becoming a channel member. Also, if you've written a book and you want to have somebody look at it with a highly critical eye, but not a mean one, I want to emphasize that, then I am also a developmental editor and you can hire me now. Your first 5K words are only $25 to see if we would be a good fit, so contact me over on Fiverr and let's talk.
Hello, it is I. Very clearly, I am cosplaying Lynx. And you might be like, Julian, that doesn't even kind of look like what that is. Like, look at those ears. Those are giant ears. And I'm like, but you see, Lynx was described as having pointy ears in the previous book. So this is book accurate. Yes, I did buy a onesie. Look at it. It has pockets. Pockets. I was thinking about getting like some ears and like a little tail and stuff, but none of them looked like I wanted. Like none of the little like paws and anything looked like I wanted. So I decided to go with a onesie. And I am seriously afraid that the static electricity is going to kill me. But if that doesn't happen, we'll read some more of Skyshade. I also do have my earring. So we are not without our accessories. Let's go. We have got to finish Skyshade today. Selfishly, I just want it to be over, and also I want to watch Crowcaller's video about it. That's the hardest part of these. The hardest part is how long these take I don't want to be spoiled for any of the goofiness, and so I don't watch all of my favorite creators' videos about these books, and that makes me so sad because I want to. You have no idea how much I want to, how much it hurts me that I have to wait. But we are reading chapter, I can't even cross my legs. This onesie's a little big on me. We are reading chapter 33 called No One. So she is on Sky Isle now. She's doing the mission. I forget what the mission is, but she's protecting the heart of Lightlark, which may or may not be her. Unclear to me. But she's like, I need to go to Sky Isle, and she's brought the bone with her, I think. It says she has a slice of power. The slice of power was warm and bright in her palm as she surfaced on Sky Isle. And she's got Remlar's instructions sharp in her mind. Oh, she's got the heart. All right, when did she get the heart? I guess she got it off page? I'm so confused. She is on Sky Isle and vines come up and wrap around her legs, and then vines come and try to pry what I thought was the bone from her hands, but it turns out it's the heart of Lightlark from her hands. It's not actually the heart. She had a fake one to fool Lark, which is fine. She can have a fake one, but like, why? This book is so disjointed that I was like, I guess she could have got the heart of Lightlark off page. Like, I fully believe that that was a thing that this author would have done. And that's a problem. If your reader is like, oh, I guess they got that important MacGuffin off page. But no, I guess we didn't need to see Grimm giving her this illusion. She had it.
Hiding information from your reader that your viewpoint character knows is always risky business because it can leave your reader feeling frustrated, lied to, and let down. In this situation, we had the added problem of I legitimately thought that probably Aster did have her main character go get the important MacGuffin off page because other important MacGuffins were fetched off page, so why not this one? But also, having Isla not think about the fact that she has a decoy until it is revealed to us and the bad guy that it is a decoy is also an interesting choice, and I just don't think it's working here because it just left a lot of confusion when you should be feeling like, oh yeah, Isla fooled you, take that, Lark. Instead we're like, why weren't we told? It was only a few paragraphs of reading and we were just confused the entire time rather than eagerly awaiting to see what clever plan our main character had come up with.
Apparently it was a grenade because it explodes. See, now this is the stuff that's being developed off page. It was not an acorn at all, but something Zed had previously developed. Oh, thank goodness, he just did that in his free time. An orb filled with her own concentrated power burst in Lark's hand, throwing them both backwards. So she made a grenade out of an acorn, or Zed did, because that was a thing that he totally has been doing this whole time. Isla is fighting together with her two boys, which I'm sure is supposed to be really cool, and it should be. It should be a moment where we're like, yes, all three of them working together as a team, we love to see it, except for this wasn't built up at all. That this was their plan, that this is what they were working towards. It's just a thing that's happening now. But she sprung her trap. She shouts for Oro, and he leaps out with Remlar's blade. Oh, guys, I'm so excited. I'm so excited. You want to know why? Cleo's back. It's stupid, and why is she here? I'm sure it's gonna be dumb, but she's here, so who cares? So Oro stabs Lark, and it looks like everything's looking up, when all of a sudden, a shard of ice comes out of nowhere and hits him, and Isla's like, oh no, one of my boos, and she leaps up to go help him, but she's blasted back by a wave, and I'm just like, woo, yeah, Team Cleo! I need like one of those noisemakers that you spin that says Team Cleo on it. Somebody wants to find me one of those? Isla should have known, of course, the Moonling was working with Lark. Why should she have known that? What about any of their interactions, aside from the fact that Cleo's just set up to be villainous? Is it just because she's a villain? Like, we should have known she was working with Lark because she's a villain? No, it doesn't work. Like, she shouldn't have known. There were no clues. Other than the fact that we just don't like Cleo. Oh, everyone! Soren is back! You remember Soren? That guy from book 2? Isn't he kind of old? I thought he died. I just can't keep track of anybody. But he's appeared, and he's from somewhere. I don't know where or how. But he's appeared, and he's holding a blade to Isla's throat. This book sums everything up. Somehow, Cleo must have managed. This entire book is the Emperor Palpatine Return Somehow of books. But Isla's like, it doesn't matter because Lark is at least temporarily out of the picture. She's held in place, but oh no! Lark is moving after all. Their plan didn't work. For some reason, nothing is ever explained or made clear, so like why would anything work or not work? The reader cannot figure that out. We just need to wait to be told whatever this author pulls out of her little brain next. So there was a flaw in their plan. Remlar bound himself to the blade to put the curse on it. All the bad guys had to do to take the curse off it was go kill Remlar, and they did. They just like dropped his body in the middle of the arena. So score 1,000,000 for the bad guys. So we're desperately trying to convince the reader that Isla could not get out of the situation she's in. Oro's down for the count, and everybody, his friends are over there with him. They don't really care about Isla. They're helping him. And then Grimm is like looking at her very intensely, calculating whether he could save her from Soren, and she thinks that she can't even portal away because doing so could cause Soren to slit her throat. I don't know why, but we have to understand that Isla can't do anything, even though she could totally just blast Starling power at him and just shove the blade away. She has several options, I feel.
Alternately, she could make a Starling shield between her skin and the blade. Now, you might be thinking, I don't know, that's awfully close, but may I remind you that in her sexy times with Oro, she made a Starling shield that stopped the gold that was around her body from burning her. So I think she could do it. I think she definitely could do it, and there's precedent for it.
Somehow Isla comes to the conclusion that what's really happening is that more people are going to die because of her, and so she just, rather than portaling herself out, she portals everyone else away, all of her friends. She portals all of her friends away. And she has mastered, again, off page, she has mastered the ability to block Grimm from his own powers through their link. I think she did it briefly in the previous book, or was going to try to, but I don't think it worked. I don't think they actually ever did it, but that was their plan, was in the previous book, that she would block Grimm from his powers so that she could stab him. That didn't work out, but now she's preventing Grimm from portaling back by blocking his powers, because that's an ability she's totally always had and has ever used within the pages of this book. If that's going to be a key ability at the end of the book, you need to have her using that within the pages of this book.
Also, I am pretty sure that up until now, anybody who was teleporting with another person had to be touching them to do it, but Isla can just, make eye contact and teleport people now. That's a power that she has, I guess.
Rather than slitting Isla's throat for some reason, they knock her unconscious instead. Hi, buddy. Look, everyone, Nigel's here, and he's also cosplaying Lynx from the book. What are the odds that we would end up in the same cosplay? Wow. Great minds think alike. So Isla's imprisoned and tied up, and Lark is just gloating about how love isn't real. Oh no, Isla can't use her powers because Lark went to the blacksmiths and found the bracelets there, and now has fashioned them into cuffs. So Lark is like, yep, you're stuck here, and now I'm gonna go kill everyone you've ever loved. You know, typical bad guy stuff. Until you give me the Heart of Light, Lark. Bye. And then she leaves, teleports out. I don't know how she leaves, but she does. And that is the end of that chapter. Let me see, I gotta mark my chapter numbers. That's 30, this is 34. I'll see you for the next one. All right, we're back with more. Next chapter is called Fed on Death. Apparently Isla is so distressed that she vomits on the floor, but I'm not really feeling the distress along with her, so it's just kind of like, okay. And because Lark put them on, that means only Lark can remove them, because apparently there's the rule that only the person who put them on you can take them off. I thought that when the blacksmith explained it, he said that only the wearer and the person who put them on can take them off, but I guess not. I guess I'm just misunderstood that. Oh, and I guess the blacksmith. Okay, that's rules unclear. But she's like, also the blacksmith could remove them. But he is dead, or at least supposedly dead, but you know, maybe he's a zombie now.
Things have been okay for me, except that I'm a zombie now.
Eventually a zombie shows up and feeds her by hand, which is gross. Isla does wonder if in the previous dimension, Lark had been able to perform real resurrections, which actually kind of does potentially track with lore that we've gotten. Every now and then, it seems like maybe the lore tracks, because the reason that Cleo wants to go to the other world so bad is because there, resurrection is possible. Although Isla died and Grimm tied her life force to his own, why couldn't Cleo do that with her son? Do you have to die in a specific way? Do you have to be there when the person dies? Like, what are the rules?
What are the rules?
She's been here now for at least 2 days, she thinks, because she thinks they're coming to feed her once a day. I think that's a good sign, because that means that Grimm and Oro haven't been caught yet, because if they had, Lark would be down here gloating and showing Isla Grimm and Oro pieces. She tries to get to her necklace, which she cannot do, apparently. She has to touch it with her hand, so she just can't, like, I'm assuming it's too low for her to, like, boop it. And I guess her hands are too tied behind her back for her to, like, scooch them, like, under her butt and around to the front of her body. We're gonna go with that, and so she's just here for a few more days. There's still a few more days left in storm season. Storm season in this book is like as long as it needs to be. We keep hearing that it's almost over, and then it turns out that it's almost over for like half of the book. So Isla just starts thinking about death, like you do when you're in a prison and zombies are feeding you.
Do you guys ever think about dying?
She's like, boy, I sure have killed a lot of people. Both voluntarily and involuntarily, I have killed a lot of people. And also I figured out that my blood has power, and bones have power, and every time I've killed, I've felt a surge of power. I forget what her flare is, because she's like, well, maybe it's a flare, but no, I already know what my flare is. I have my father's flare. Oh yeah, being immune to curses is her flare. But then she's like, wait, what if I don't have my father's flare? What if I've taken my father's flare and I have a whole separate flare, which is definitely Isla gets more powers. Did I already cross that one off? Yeah, I already crossed that one off. But there's definitely an Isla gets more powers, because we all knew she was going to end up with a second flare. She thinks that she killed her parents, and that's how she got her father's flare. And Tara and Poppy were like, we didn't kill your parents. But they were leaving out the part, you killed your parents. Okay, I guess her other flare is taking people's powers when she kills them. Which in any other book would be really cool. In any other book, I would love that. But this book is such a disaster, and these books are such a disaster that I can't even enjoy this really cool element.
Of course, now we're all wondering, like, who has she killed? We're going back to the catalog of who she's killed, and she's killed hundreds of people. So, like, this gives Alex Astor the perfect excuse to let Isla do anything at any time. Literally anything at any time. Because she can just say, oh, back in that village that Isla massacred, there was someone with this power. Like, okay, mostly she's killed people from Grimm's realm, so her abilities are going to skew Nightshade, but at the same time, there was that Nightshade guy who tried to assassinate her, who could control people's minds with his powers, and that never comes up in this book, but now Alex Astor has that in her back pocket, where all of a sudden Isla can start psychically controlling people's minds, and it's just like,
Isla did not need this. She did not need a way for Alex Astor to just give her any power at any time and claim that it was because she killed the right person for it.
So then she's like, wait, if I take everyone's powers who I kill, I have the powers of the blacksmith. And if I have the powers of the blacksmith, that means I can remove my own bracelets. That was convoluted. That is a very convoluted way to get her to get out of this situation. If that's all that ends up being used for in this book, I'm going to be so mad. So yeah, she escapes from her bonds, and then she scrapes up every bit of power that she didn't even know she was collecting, everybody's abilities that she has been stealing, and she unleashed, it says. So basically Isla has at this point kind of become a god. But Isla blasts out of her prison with her powers until she's standing in just a crater looking up at the sky. And I'm sure in the author's head this looks very cool. And I'm like, it would be very cool if it was any other book and anyone else besides frickin' Isla Crown. Because next book, we're going to have to find a way that she doesn't use all of these godlike powers. We have 2 more books, supposedly. I think legitimately this author's just hoping that her contract gets canceled. I think that she's hoping this book won't do well and she doesn't have to write any more of them, because in the next book, we're going to have to find reasons that she doesn't use all of these powers.
So it has just occurred to me as I'm editing that Alex Astor might be trolling us. This might be satire of some kind. This might be her going, oh, you wanted 5 books instead of, I heard that it was supposed to be a duology or maybe a trilogy, but it was definitely not supposed to be 5 books when Light Lark started out. So she's giving Isla the most power creep ever, because she's like, oh, you wanted a powerful main character? Here you go. You wanted, the love triangle with the Shadow Daddy? Here you go. I'm just like, are we sure that she's not just trolling us all very, very hard? Because I you know what? I can almost believe it. She has already turned her main character into essentially a god, and it's only book 3. Are we sure she's writing any of this in earnestness at all? I've been treating it like it is, and I'll continue to treat it like it is, but now I'm really wondering if she's laughing at us, laughing at all of our sincerity trying to read these books.
But that was the end of the chapter. She has busted herself out. Nigel is shrieking at me because he doesn't like that the book is on my lap instead of him. He got off because he didn't like sharing with the book, but now he's yelling. Anyway, I'll see you for the next chapter. Welcome back for more of this madness. Let's keep going. We are trudging towards the end of this book at top speed. The next chapter is called Cost, where perhaps we find out what happens when Isla uses all of her powers at once. Isla just goes to the Wildling Newland Castle, which is very poorly explained that that's where she is. She's just there now, and Tara and Poppy are guarding the door. We are just hitting it really hard. This is also the Poppy apology tour book, because Poppy, we need to know that she's the good one. So she runs forward like, Isla, are you okay, poor baby? Really, I think Poppy just has a really strong sense of self-preservation, and she knows that she needs to befriend Isla because this girl is getting godlike powers at a very steady rate. Whatever's happening in the world, they have time for her to take 3 baths. She goes to her room, she takes 3 baths. Isla finally asks, hey, did I kill my parents? And her guardians are like, yep. Wow, Isla was such a powerful baby. She killed both her parents with her first cry. She apparently brought an entire castle down on everyone's head by crying the first time. Because Isla is just so powerful, you guys. I already hate overpowered main characters, and Isla is taking this to the nth degree. But the reason that Lynx hates her is because he knows that she killed her mother. But he got over it really fast. Remember how he didn't like her at the beginning? I thought it was just a cute little thing. But no, it's because she killed her mother. So another retcon. It turns out we knew about this Shade Maid medal the whole time. And that was how they had kept Isla from regaining her powers, apparently by giving her heavy metal poisoning. Because they ground it up and put it in her food. They did things like hiding it in her clothes and braiding it into her hair. So trust me, this element that we've only introduced in book 3 has been here the whole time, you guys. You just didn't know. I hate that kind of retcon. I really do. I am here for finding out that something that seemed innocuous is actually not. in later books. Or, you know, you'll see this element and you'll be like, ooh, what happened? I don't know why this is here, but I hope I find out. But just saying that something was there all along and you just didn't notice it because you wanted to add a new element to the next book, I'm not a fan. Unclear why, when she finally went to Lightlark for the competition, she went and got new clothes. And she had somebody else doing her hair. Like, were they still slipping metal into her food somehow? Were they like making sure that that happened? Because she was not wearing her clothes from home. And she had that servant who was doing all of her hair and everything for her. So like, when and how was the metal still around keeping her powerless? And why, when she finally realized that she had powers, did it stop working? I can't even remember the moment that she realized she had powers, but she must have done something that the author can point to and be like, there, that's when she was no longer wearing the Shade Made metal. Also, why isn't this called Shade Made? Why is this called Skyshade? We have found nothing called Skyshade. But now that she's all cleaned up and she's gotten that handy backstory out of the way, Isla portals over to Sky Isle. Because I guess that's where she thinks she's going to find Lark. I don't know why. She finds Remlar's body, which is still there and hasn't been turned into a zombie for some reason. And she cries over him. She thinks that he had become a friend, but let's be honest, she only went to him when she needed something. At best, he was a mentor, but mostly he was just used. Isla does not understand how friendship works, which I guess makes sense because her only actual friend had been using her. So maybe that's what Isla thinks friendship is. She just thinks friendship is using people. She does find the cursed blade, which is no longer cursed, but it's still a blade made out of the special metal, so she takes it with her. For whatever reason, Isla is treating Remlar's death like better than she's treated anyone else's death ever. She portals his body back to his people so they can have a funeral, and she's super sad. When pretty much anyone else who's died, she's been like, oh yeah, remember that person? I feel sad about that. We get like 2 lines and then she's over it.
Hard luck, Dave. Always knew you were a bit weak.
And now she's portaled off. Isla stood on the edge of the cliff next to her father's estate. But once she's there, she touches her life alert necklace, and both Grim and the dragon show up. So luckily, when the necklace summons Grim, it also summons his ride. Grim, of course, leaps majestically off the dragon and sweeps her into his arms for a passionate kiss. We have to have a moment before we go, get to endgame. We have to have a moment where Grim sees that Isla's poor wrists are injured, and he gets super, super mad. Like, I'm going to kill anyone who harms you. I'm going to rip that witch limb from limb for hurting my baby boo. If only he knew how freaking powerful Isla was. Like, sir, she is more powerful than you. I wonder if he's ever going to have to, deal with that knowledge. Are we going to ever sit down and think about the fact that Isla is more powerful than Grim? Even though we really, really want to believe, this book really wants us to believe that Grim is, so powerful, and it's, so much stronger still than her, but that's because she keeps weakening herself. There's probably a metaphor in there somewhere about women weakening themselves for men so men don't feel bad. So Grim says that even though the cursed blade didn't stop Lark, it has injured her, so Lark has gone underground into hiding. So really, Isla didn't have to worry about either of her boys getting killed. Isla says, "This ends now," because it's the most cliched line that this author could think of.
This ends now. This ends now.
This ends now.
This ends now! This ends now! This ends now!
This ends now.
You aren't wearing any pants. This ends now.
After Isla's finished with Grim, she portals over to Azul, and she's like, yo, Azul, the mother of all storms is happening tomorrow. And Azul's like, what? How do you know? And she says, because I'm making it. So she's sort of self-fulfilling a prophecy, kind of. And that's the end of that chapter. What chapter was that? See, I have to keep disturbing you, Nigel, because these chapters are so short. Nigel is mad. He just got comfortable, and I have to keep moving around. My little kitty head keeps getting discombobulated because my earring is weighing down one side of it. It's actually not too hot in here. Anyway, I went and snagged myself a cup of tea in my weird Otters in Tank mug. It's unhinged, and I love it. Anyway, we are on to chapter 36, which is just called You. Y-O-U. You. I don't know why she's waiting until tomorrow, but she says tomorrow she would face Lark. She also has not thought about Oro at all since she got free, so that just kind of shows where her priorities are. She goes back to her home island. or her dad's island, I guess I should say. She goes back to her dad's private island, and she brings Lynx with her, and Lynx recognizes the place and sends her like flashes of memories of her parents hanging out here. Also, I think there's a castle here too, but she finds a cozy little cabin overtaken by nature that she gets a memory of her parents adorably building together. And oh my goodness, convenience of conveniences. She goes inside, and there on the old table is a letter from her dad. Wow, of course she would like just happen to find this. Wow, this letter from her dad is long. Look at all, this is all dad letter. And it's all backstory. He's like, my tiny baby daughter who's about to be born. Let me tell you the legend of the blacksmith and the guy who used to rule here. I was working with a man that hated the world and himself, and he sought to find a sword so he could overtake the land his predecessors had lost. Why are you telling me this, Dad? You're writing a sweet letter for your baby that's about to be born. Also, the star stick is just called the Portling device. Like, she named it the star stick, Isla did. But her father, who originally had it, just calls it the Portling device. He didn't have, like, another cool name for it. Here somewhere in this great long story, he fixes the plot hole that I had completely forgotten about, of how he could fall in love with Isla's mother without her having to eat his heart or kill him or whatever. And it's because he went to the blacksmith and he got a special necklace made. Thank goodness we had that solved. That was, like, keeping me up at night. How did that work? No, I had forgotten that was even a thing. My lipstick is going to slowly wear off as I drink my tea. It will belong to the otters. One of the many, many things that Dad talks about in the letter is that when Isla was yet unborn, Isla's mother started having dreams about how Isla was going to be the most special girl who was ever special. Her mother could see the future. Everywhere, it's oracles all the way down, except for when Isla needs them. So again, we are retconning things left, right, and center. So the dad is like, thanks to your mother, I know that you have my flair, which is that you're immune to the curses. Cool. But also, you don't have your mother's flair yet, because once again, this blacksmith is really like playing a pivotal part in everyone's lives. Once again, we went to the blacksmith again, and we somehow, I guess this can just happen, we put your mother's flair into a vessel that you can like access later, probably. What the fuck? But Isla is absolved from any guilt of killing her parents because they knew, thanks to her mother's flair, that she was going to kill them, and they still chose to have her anyway because they loved her so much, because that's what parents do. Her mother's flair is in the talisman. It's shaped like a little vial. Why isn't that the cover? And so she can just take it. This has been waiting for her here this entire time.
You are a smart cookie, and you often know things, and I appreciate your insight.
I'm the smartest cookie here. All right, so that was the end of that chapter, and I'm just going to go right along into chapter 37 because that one was really short. Is 37? Okay, 37 is not quite the last one, but we're getting really close. Chapter 37 is called Illusion. So she prepares a bunch of stuff that we don't know about off page. It just says her hair was still wet, her arm burned, and her muscles were sore from everything she had prepared. Because this author does not like to show you anything in advance. That way she can do whatever the fuck she wants later on. Like, it would be perfectly reasonable and good for us to see the character actually prepare for the final battle, instead of just telling us that she did, so that the author can just have her do whatever comes into her brain, and then say that that was Isla's plan. Now we're in the Winter Palace. We're just hopping around palaces and islands and places. Nigel. Oh, we forgot that Grimm can read emotions, but he says that she's disappointed, and she's like, has anyone told you it's rude to read someone's emotions without their permission? And I'm like, I forgot that he could do that. So Grimm portaled everybody away from Nightshade, because Nightshade's going to be super dangerous. She finally asks about Oro, who I guess he's ready. She hasn't checked on Oro, she hasn't seen Oro. So the reason she was disappointed is because Grimm looks tired and she thinks that he won't want to have sex with her because he's too tired. But we all know that's not going to be an issue. Much like a BioWare game, though, we gotta have one last sexy time before we depart on the final mission. So while this might work pacing-wise in things like, say, a video game, it's not working for me here. We're just stopping the action. Like, we've got this big climactic battle that's coming up. You know, we've got to stop Lark. We've got to save the day, giant storms. And we're stopping it for a not fade to black sex scene. Like, we're watching them do it. And I'm like, this is really just hamstringing the pacing in this last little portion of the book. And of course, in the middle of the sex scene, he has to be like wife, and she has to be like husband, because that's hot for somebody.
Wife. My 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 wife.
Once again, Alex Astor has no idea how to describe armor, and she's not interested in learning, even though she's writing a fantasy book. So we finish the sex. And then we cut to them being ready for battle. And it says that Grimm wore sheets of metal and armor with the sword on his back. Sheets of metal and armor, two separate things. I want to know is he wearing like a sheet of corrugated steel on his back, like a cape or something? Like, what does this mean? Isla is wearing lighter clothing because of her job, which is to ride on the dragon. But let me remind you that this dragon is huge, and I think she could wear full plate and he wouldn't notice. So Grimm's going to be riding my namesake today. He's going to be riding the leopard while Isla rides the dragon, because we got to give her that upgrade, man. She's not riding a boring old leopard when she has a dragon now. So we're getting a little flashback to one of the things she did to prepare. Why we couldn't just watch her do that in real time, I have no idea. But I guess she went back to Cronin's coffin in the middle of the maze, because that is where the storm portal is. And she carved herself with another skyer using the magic bone over her heart, where the heart of Lightlark had touched her. And I guess Grimm and Oro's armies are bait to draw Lark out of hiding with her zombie army, I guess. We gotta have another one of these battles with all of these, like, armies, because this author doesn't know any other way to end a fantasy book. Enya is here, and she's got her fire wings, and she pulls a move that I'm pretty sure Captain America did at some point. Not old Cap, new Cap, with the wing, like, dragging along the dirt. Hitting enemies, of course. I don't know why Isla's getting visits from some of these side characters we don't care about, but Zed's here now. She looks down on the fight that's already happening, and Grimm and Oro are battling back to back. You know, light and dark, back to back again, yin yang, whatever. Except for she didn't care about Oro at all. It's not balanced. It's not balanced because she didn't even think about Oro until she was like, has he promised to do his job in this war? When she had a whole fully described sex scene with Grimm. Once again, I feel like this author struggles a lot with tone, because this book reads like it's for middle grade, but we are still having multiple sex scenes. Now, yes, these sex scenes are toned down from what we have read in some of the other books for new adults, but not enough. Like, if this was actually a middle grade book like it sounds like it wants to be, we wouldn't have any sex scenes at all. We would just skip that. Like, the kisses would be the thing that we were striving towards. But no. And now we're doing this whole, again, a fantasy battle that feels like it's right out of a Marvel movie. And it just doesn't fit tonally. She wants to write so many things all at the same time, and none of them fit together. Turns herself into a giant bolt of lightning, because all these girlies have lightning powers. She's riding on the back of a dragon with lightning powers. I feel safe saying that Alex Astor read Silly Dragon book, and wants us all to think of that book when we read her book. But she's creating this giant, terrible storm, I guess. And instead of raining raindrops, it's raining monsters. It's like Raining Men, but with monsters. They're just like giant creatures are plopping out of the sky. It's kind of hilarious to envision, honestly. But her boys kill the monsters. I guess they aren't on her side. And then the metal starts falling from the sky. Also, with all this special metal falling from the sky, how are Grimm and Oro still able to just keep using their powers like they have been? How's anybody able to keep using their powers? Like, maybe Isla can because she's just so special. But how's everybody else using their powers right now? Apparently, she summoned a Hydra, because an enormous creature as big as a mountain with too many heads is now here. Okay, Isla didn't make this one. Lark made this one. Lark comes in riding on a really, really big Hydra. Not sure where she got it from, but good for her. But she and her little dragon charge the giant Hydra, and she has a moment where she thinks about how brave her little dragon is, and how meaningful all of his baby years were, even though we didn't see any of them. But she has Cronin's sword as well now, because Grimm got that for her, you'll remember. Off page, and she summons a bunch of Drekks. They shot through the air like throwing stars. Good to know that we still have not figured out how to describe things that fly, except with throwing stars. The Drekks all swarm the giant Hydra. Some of the Drekks surrounded her, like a legion. Gotta have our legions. Okay, this is stupid. Some of the Drekks are wearing rings, because she had time to like find all these Drekks and give them jewelry. And these rings are, hundreds of them, are Azul's rings. So they all have tiny storms on them. I'm just picturing her having summoned these guys and all of these weird winged creatures just standing quietly as she walks around giving jewelry to each of them. But you'll remember that the storms are Isla's storms. These are her friends, these storms. So they're just all circling around her like her pets.
Stop being so silly!
So she then sends her new storms to go attack the heads of the Hydra, because that might as well happen. Like this, all of this is just one big long, that might as well happen. But she chops off all the heads and she finishes the last head herself, and the giant Hydra falls from the sky with Lark on its back. Lark this whole time has been doing fuck all. And then she recalls her storms like Pokemon into an orb. Literally, she just like sucks them back in, like storms return, and there she puts it on her belt. After this, she's going to take on the Pokemon League. Honestly, these books are so random that if that's what she did in the next book, I wouldn't even be surprised. Sorry, the camera's moving. Giorgio is here, rubbing her chin on the tripod. So she signals Grimm and Oro to meet her at the forge for some reason. And then she's going after Lark, I guess. I don't know. I'm very confused. Where is Cleo? No idea. She's buggered off again. I hope she will reappear, because she was there for like 10 seconds. Isla goes back to the Winter Palace again, and she's preparing something in the dining room, and she notices it has started to snow harder than before, harder than she planned, and I'm like, okay, maybe this is Cleo. Oh, God, I hope so. I hope she doesn't kill Cleo. I really want more Cleo. Yes, it is Cleo. The snow turns into waves and like crashes into the room and pins Isla down, and I'm like, yes. Her body numb beneath her. Her own body is beneath her? I mean, I guess if she's still standing up, but I don't think of it that way. Like, she could just say her body is numb, or her limbs are numb, or something. Her body numb beneath her. So the only thing that qualifies as her is her head. Lark is here as well. It's not just Cleo, it's also Lark. And Isla's like, damn, Lark was supposed to be injured. Except for she's like, that's right, Cleo probably saved her. And we love to see it. Cleo is holding Isla in like a bubble of water and keeping her submerged. So Isla can't use her powers because like she's running out of oxygen. Once again, proving that being submerged is Isla's one true weakness. So if we ever need to defeat Isla, we're going to need a waterbender. Lark is like, how did you frickin' get out of my prison? Because Lark couldn't be bothered to check that Isla was still there. Not even go back and be like, hey, there's a giant crater where I had my prison cave. Annoying. And I guess none of her undead told her either.
Thank you.
Fortunately, before Isla can be drowned, Lark says, I need her alive for now. Once again, we have a villain who needs the main character alive for some reason. So Lark seems to think that she is going to kill Isla and then resurrect her as like a magical zombie that has the heart of Light Lark in it. Seems to be her plan. So even though Lark was like, don't kill Isla, I need her, now Lark is pulling Isla back towards the water using vines. And Isla's like, I'm going to drown. And I'm like, well, okay, I guess maybe Lark has to do it? Like, Cleo can't do it? Which is so unfair. Oh, you guys, we have a sudden different kind of reveal. Because just as Lark is standing there laughing maniacally, Cleo comes in and saves the day. I was really hoping that she'd get to say a villain. But Cleo stabs Lark in the throat with a giant shard of ice. Cleo shrugs a single shoulder. I see she's been going to the Grimm School of Shrugging. Because Cleo's ice is, like, ever-changing or something like that, Lark can't, like, heal it. So she just, like, keeps sticking that shard in Lark's neck, and Lark keeps healing herself, but barely.
This "oh, suddenly Cleo is helping our main character" twist, like every other twist, especially in the later 2 books of Alex Astor's, is once again, it doesn't count really because there was no setup, none whatsoever. You could look through this book with a magnifying glass and a fine-tooth comb and you will find 0 clues that Cleo is going to switch sides. So it doesn't make any sense. When would Isla have had time to go talk to Cleo? What was that conversation? No idea. The author doesn't even know. She just was like, oh, I bet the reader won't be expecting this to happen. Well, yeah, bitch, because you didn't set it up at all.
And then she pulls an Iron Man and calls on the armor that the blacksmith made for her that comes flying and, like, attaches itself to her body. I swear to God, this author watched Avengers, and all of her battles are based on that. So Cleo, who's still using her powers to keep Lark stabbed, is like, I can hold her, but I can't hold her for long. Don't forget your promise. So apparently Isla promised something, possibly to use her powers to resurrect Cleo's kid. Anyway, Isla says she won't. So it was all part of the plan. Cleo was supposed to pretend to rescue Lark and then bring her to Isla, where Isla and Cleo would get her.
It's a cunning plan, actually. Of course it is.
I don't know how she got Cleo to take her seriously long enough to promise anything. Isla runs into the maze. Apparently this is part of the plan. I guess we're doing the ending of The Shining now. She sees Cleo go flying past, so that means that Cleo has done all that she can and now she's buggered off. And so Lark is coming. Isla dug the sword into the grass. There is no grass here. 0 grass. This place is snowy all year long. The author cannot even keep track of that. Isla summons a bunch of Drex and they form a barrier around the maze. And then Isla portals them both to the center of the maze. Bum, bum, bum. And finally, and that's the end of that chapter. So many things happening, and I guess, why not? Why not? All right, I'm gonna stop, and then we'll come back for the next few chapters. I think there's like 2 or 3 left. They're all pretty short, so I'll see you then. All right, here we go. This chapter is called Oro. And I think we're actually in his point of view for the first time in any of these books. Because he thinks of Grimm as Grimshaw, which is our cue that we are definitely in Oro's head. Even though I think he's called him Grimm, like, to Isla. He thinks of him as Grimshaw. Meanwhile, these two are just having an enemies to lovers thing. Your acute hatred of me is flattering, the demon said, sensing his emotions, but best to keep it at bay while we work together. I'm like, that is the setup. That is the setup for the enemies to lovers right there. That's what the next 2 books actually are. Isla becomes so all-powerful that she ascends, and the 2 boys just have to fall in love with each other instead. This is the ship I never knew I wanted. What am I talking about? I've wanted this ship as much as all of you did. Many of you have been shipping them for a while now. Apparently, she set her 2 boys off on a fool's errand, though, because, like, they realize that Isla does not need them, and she can do everything herself because she has their powers. So she just sent them off to the blacksmiths so they could have their own little rom-com over here. It's only a 1.5 pages long, but you know what? This is the best part of the book. Oro says she's trying to get around the prophecy, and Grimm is like, what prophecy? I guess she didn't tell Grimm about the one that was already there about them dying. For some reason I thought she had told Grimm that, but yep. So that was that chapter. That's all of it. That's 30 a.m. We're on to 39. I'm not even going to stop recording because that was very short. So Isla noticed when she was back at the old castle made of glass that had the room that she couldn't open in it. The door to that room was made of the shade-made metal infused with wildling blood. So she was like, cool, I'm gonna figure out how to do that, which she did off page. And now she has infused her blood into Cronin's casket, I guess, off page. So now she's become one with the metal, and that's why she can use her powers. So she begins a brand new fight, 1v1 with Lark. She is now glowing as she, like, rises up out of the hedges because we're also doing, like, Dark Phoenix or whatever. I don't know how she's going to get more powerful from here. I feel like the end of this book is going to have to be Isla lost all her powers for some reason. Because, like, how are we going to do 2 more books? when she's already like, it literally says her abilities are radiated out of her, circling her in a galaxy. Like, how do we go anywhere from here, aside from her ascending to actual godhood? So Lark is like totally losing. Every attack she throws at Isla just gets easily battered away by Isla the god. But as Isla just becomes the avatar, except for of all 6 nations, she gets distracted by being like, huh, I have all these powers. And then somehow Lark sneaks a vine in and grabs her and wraps it around her head so she can't like see or hear. I guess that's the way to defeat her. And now Lark is literally trying to dig her fingers into Isla's chest. How quickly the turns have tabled, because seconds ago Lark wasn't even able to get close to Isla. It feels very, very convenient that Isla was like distracted in such a way that now Lark can get her. Isla distracted by her own powers. Once again, proving, though, that the way to get Isla is to suffocate her, because she's suffocating and she, like, can't defend herself anymore. So I guess it doesn't need to be water. But of course, as she's suffocating, she can sense Grim and Oro are getting closer, coming to rescue her. And she's mad because she was trying to keep them away so she didn't have to kill one of them. Oh, of course. Sure, obviously this is what would happen. Her own body was smothered, useless, but her shadow was not. Oh, this is Saoirse's power that she's using. Saoirse had the power to have her shadow act as a doppelganger, I guess. Maybe we saw that. And so now Isla can do it. It would have been great if we had seen her use any of these powers before she's using them, but okay. So her shadow pulls Lark off just enough for Isla to burst out with all of her powers again. And then as Isla's shadow drops back to the floor, it hands her a feather, because we still have that feather, you'll recall, that had like a piece of Celeste in it or something. It turns out that all along, it wasn't Celeste writing to Isla, it was Lark pretending to be Celeste writing to Isla, and Isla figured that out off page as well. So now she's doing the whole, like, I knew it was you, and the way you got free was using my blood, because I kept getting stabbed by this pen / stabbing myself with this pen. So she starts burning the feather, and apparently that's working. I guess it was a Horcrux or some shit, because now Lark is writhing on the ground. Then she flicks her mighty wrist, and the coffin explodes, and there's the portals just like underneath it the whole time. So the only reason I guess that Oro and Grim haven't reached her yet is they're having to fight the Drex to get through to her, because even though she exploded the coffin, it's still subduing their powers, probably. I don't know. So we're supposed to be putting the pieces together, and none of this makes sense to me. Maybe it'll make sense to you. She hadn't had Zed and Grim steal the sword again to control the Drex, though it had been useful. No, she needed it because it had been enchanted by Cronin himself, and it contained his blood, which meant she could find him with it. Remar had explained the scroll. He confirmed what she had read in the desert, that a portal could only be closed on the other side. It was why she had stolen the bone from Oro, why she had started to shape her own plan. Is any of that supposed to make sense? So apparently, yes, I was right. In the other world, Lark has the power to actually resurrect people. We're told that Remar let Isla know that, but we didn't get to hear that when she was talking to Remar. That was unimportant for us to hear until now. But it says there Isla could kill her, Isla could take her power. So if she goes, I guess she's going to go with to the other world? Are we going to be in a whole new dimension for the next book? Oh, snap, that'd be interesting. Horrifying to think that we have to world build for a whole other dimension, but maybe. And again, she says that if she goes to the other world, kills Lark, and gains Lark's powers, even though you don't know that that's how that's going to work in the other world, honestly. But if she does that, then she can bring anyone back to life who's ever been killed. And so probably that includes Cleo's son, which is the bargain that she made with Cleo. Because Cleo has one motivation and one motivation only. Of course, to go to the other world, you have to know its name. That's a thing that we established. No, it's not. We're just learning that now. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Title. Book title, finally. The name of the other world is Skyshade. Why is this whole ass book named Skyshade when Skyshade is the other dimension where she's probably gonna go? What? Why? I'm so mad. I knew it was gonna be dumb. So I'm like mad, but like in a knowing way. All right, and then we're just gonna go on to chapter 39, which is Grim, presumably from his point of view. It's a page and a half. And then it's just straight to the acknowledgements page. So I think, are we on a cliffhanger? What happens to Isla? Wow. Just All of this ending has been such a clusterfuck, and I'm kind of here for it. What is even any of this? Just masterfully bad. This is bad writing on a level that we can only hope to achieve, that we can only dream of. Like, it's astounding, honestly. It is breathtaking. You know when you see something so inept that it comes right back around to being like, wow. Man, it's like someone who tripped and then did several cartwheels and a perfectly executed backflip. And then yeeted themselves off a cliff because, like, it's not good. Like, none of this is actually good. It doesn't come back around to being good. It just comes back around to being, like, just friggin' entertaining. Read this book for the so bad it's good qualities. But yes, we are with Grimm. We cut to them battling the Drex, trying to get into the maze to help Isla. Oro and Grimm side by side. Then Lynx comes running up and he bowls right through the Drex and he creates a hole that Oro and Grimm run through. So they arrive in the center of the maze following Lynx, and I'm just going to read you this ending. A streak of lightning cracked the sky in half, landing right in the middle of the maze. The force of it sent them all flying back. The land began to shake. All the windows of the palace behind them shattered. Grimm was on his feet in an instant. He didn't slow. He didn't care about that palace. All he cared about was her, and he reached the center and sank to his knees. Where the coven had once stood, just a charred circle and a burnt white feather remained. Lark had gone through the portal to the other world, and so had Isla. And then it's just straight to the acknowledgments page. Baby, do not pass go, do not collect $200. Just acknowledgments and shitty map. Let's see who she acknowledges this time. I hope she thanks her editor, and I really hope Anne Heltzel is well paid to try to have to put up with this and try to turn this into something that resembles a book. She's basically thanking everyone who worked on this book. She's thanking the cover creators, the editors, the publicists, just everybody. She's covering all her bases. I think she wants them all to like her. So she also thanks her love. And thank you to my love for your support over these many years. So I guess she is in a relationship of some kind. She just doesn't know how to write a sex scene that doesn't sound like an alien wrote it. For once, I don't think she thanked... She did not thank her TikTok fans or her Instagram fans or anything, possibly because TikTok is going away. But she didn't thank her legions of fans this time. But she did thank everybody else. Like, there's so many names in that. But yeah, that is Skyshade. We made it. We made it, you guys. Let's look at the bingo card. Let us get our bingo card out here. Okay, all right. Queen Cleo mostly not in it. I'm giving it that. She was in like 3 scenes. Star Stick still not described. Yep, no description of the Star Stick. Isla's not back with Oro at the end. We don't get that. She's in another dimension. They did not kill off Azul. They didn't kill off Azul, so we don't get Bury Your Gaze. I thought maybe they might do that. Awkward language choices, yes, 100%. Let's see. Elements from the previous book dropped. I am certain that there were elements from the previous book that were dropped. I don't know what they are offhand, but I'm certain they exist. We do not get no snakes, even though there were snakes on the cover. What about this book could have been an email? What do you think? Do you think this book could have been an email? She does end it with something that feels pretty important, but did anything else in this book really matter? Like if we had ended the previous book with her going through this portal, would we have missed anything? Let me know in the comments below whether you think that we should get this book could have been an email. So the only ones we're missing are Bury Your Gaze and Isla, back with Oro at the end, and this book could have been an email, and no snakes, even though there were snakes on the cover. Oh, and I do have the blurb live, so now I gotta read the blurb. Nigel just got back on my lap, and I'm gonna disturb him. He's gonna be so mad. Oh, the desk cover. Let's read the blurb. Back in Grimm's castle at Nightshade, Isla is reeling in the wake of a brutal battle and the devastating truths it exposed. Her fortune and the fate of the world now hinge on a heart split in two. Past Isla, who fell in love with the ruler of Nightshade, fights to resist the feeling she considered treasonous. The Isla of the present, who has seen the ruin her powers can cause, will do anything to save Lightlark and its king. That's not true. She's not trying to save Lightlark and its king. She barely thinks about Oro. Sometimes he shows up at her door and she's like, oh yeah, that guy. As the line between enemy and friend is tested, Isla is more desperate than ever to understand the Oracle's final prophecy and change her heart-rending fate. But a storm is coming, and with it, a long-buried evil greater than anything the realms have faced before. Well, that's not true, because these realms were formed by Lark. Lark is not an evil greater than anything these realms have faced before, because she was here. These are her realms. With the clock ticking on her destiny and the survival of 2 warring kingdoms hinge on her own shattered heart. They're not warring anymore, they don't care. Isla Crown will either save the world or destroy it. Boy, she would save the world or destroy it was certainly said a lot in this book. And I'm going to go ahead and say yes, the blurb lied. Because most of that was not really actually things that happened in this book. However, strong however, whoever had to write that blurb, I commend them for what they came up with. Because writing a blurb for this mess, can you imagine? Try to summarize this book. Go ahead and try. What is this? What is this? What is this? This is the most beautiful disaster. This Lightlark and its subsequent books are just the ongoing The Room of the literature world. What I used to do at the end of these videos is talk about like things that I would change and how I would fix this book, but I found that I like sitting with it for a while and then coming back to you with a separate video, so I'm probably going to do that. Also, for my patrons and channel members, one of my patrons happened to get their hands on the extra chapter that only people who get the Barnes & Noble copy get to see, so we will be reading that for my patrons and channel members. That's exciting. So let me know, guys, what did you think of these longer types of videos? I'm sure you enjoyed them because everybody's always telling me they want longer and longer videos. They're kind of a pain for me to do because, like I explained, it is really difficult for me to edit a 3-hour video together, and I really have to do a lot of that in advance so I can put them out. Like, if I want to put them out back to back, I have to do like pretty much all of it in advance because it certainly takes me longer than a week to edit a 3-hour video. So yeah, let me know what you thought. Was it worth it? Was it worth it to maybe wait longer than you might normally have to for these longer videos? In the comments below. Also, high five the screen. Let me know your favorite unhinged part of this book, please. Comment and let me know, because this book had everything and nothing at the same time. Anyway, now it is dark and nighttime, and I am going to go and have some dinner and probably just hang out in this onesie for the rest of the night. And I will see all of you again next time with whatever it is I happen to be doing next time. Bye!
Happy New Year.
This month, it's just the warmest of hugs from me to my lovely patrons. Patrons in reverse order, like Lisa, Amanda, Jenny, Savvy, Scribbling Cat, Rennie, Jesper, Zaire, Shelby, Vampire Antihero, Callison, Anne Sophie, Patrick, Belle, Light Julie, Hidden Glade, Kit, Merween, Sophia, Swamp Goblin Waifu, Deborah, Alyssa, Celia, Mufflier, KJ, Jessica, Caitlin, Robin, Jojo Bookish, Ronnie, Kirsten, Pudamancer, Mooney, Kira, Sam, Haley, Pansing Pony, Roma, 78 kilograms of shade, Kat, Sarah, Bird Anonymous, July, Martha Baggins, SB Boots, Laknanga, Tina, Gay Tutter, Jen, Annika, Kay, Scout, GK, Semi-Dark, Marshy, AJ, Lunar Muse, Jose, Lady Kragan, Cameron, Christina, Ria, Stephanie, Haley, Tactical Hot Dog, Nemo, and Bunny. Thanks again, everyone, for making it through another year with yours truly. Hopefully there'll be all kinds of cool stuff coming up soon.